People don't know about Agenda 21.
Sustainable development, they have to actually
Stack and pack people on the coast.
Absolutely. You have to go to, actually you can go to the UN, whatever it is, unitednations.org or un.org, and actually they tell you what Agenda 21 is. It's on their website. It's in the guise of environmental, but it clearly states on their own page that it's about what humans...
Tell people what stack and pack means in Agenda 21.
Well, what it is depopulating the human race. And I know people don't want to believe this, but you can go to the United Nations site and you can read it, you can Google it. There's great information out there. I believe even G. Edward Griffin has written about it. I know certainly his associate has, Chris. And find out, and what's that attorney's name? A great attorney, what is it, Mark? Anyway, if you go to my website, I mentioned this great attorney.
The website is again?
It's nightingaleforgovernor.com. And there is an article, an interview I did with Cher Zeev. You can find it on Canada Free Press. Interview I did with Cher Zeev. You can find it on Canada Free Press. And I mentioned this attorney and what he was able to do to exposing it. But it's about depopulating. You know, you have to remember that the globalist agenda, the George Soros, the Bilderberg crowd, they want power, but they don't want their resources diminished. And of course, too much people, less money, you know, for them, harder to manage. I mean, I know that people say, "Oh, that's conspiracy," but go Google it. Go on the United Nations site. Let's hear in their own words.
Supervisor Cacho or Councilman Fred Strong got elected to the Assembly, and they come forward with a bill and say, we want to increase the Assembly size from the 80 golden-haired boys that can't be removed because none of them have lost except to be termed out. 80 of them have stayed there for the last 10 years, and I believe Mr. Warnken, if he was here, would tell us that's right. Nobody, once you're in, you're in. You're one of the good old boys of the 80. Would you support, if one of them got elected and said, I've got a bill to increase the Assembly from 80 to say 800. It really should be 1,200, but say 800. A tenfold increase, and we'll cut their salaries back to $1,000 or $2,000 a month. And then, as you suggested, we'll make it part-time. They won't be up there all the time. Number one, a whole bunch of lobbyists would have to go to the districts. Now
absolutely.
They would have to go out to where the people are.
I told Michael, absolutely, to email me the information. I'm actually going to connect him with Timothy Baldwin, which is Chuck Baldwin's son. He's a constitutional attorney. But absolutely, if it's better for the people and if it's in here, then absolutely.
The Constitution
says
about
representation
30,000 to 1. That's the way they're to apportion. Yeah. That's for House reps.
Yes.
But Michael would knock me on the side of the head and said, no, for the Assembly, it's supposed to be 3,000 to 1.
I know.
Why can't we get this discussion going with people
because they don't want to talk about it. Because it's about power and control and eliminating the middle class.
Down to the people.
It's about collectivism. They do not want what the Founding Fathers set up.
Are the Republicans mostly collectivist?
They're both collectivists. There's not one more than the other. They're
equal.
How
about Ron Paul? Is he a collectivist?
Oh, no. Now, Ron Paul is a constitutionalist.
But he's a Republican?
I know. I wish he would leave. I wish he would leave the party. I do.
20 years
I know
ago.
he did in the Libertarian Party. I wish he'd come over to the Constitution Party, I have to tell you. But you know what?
He's not going to do that. People have asked him already.
I know the party has already had discussions with him. And so, hey, you want to know what, though? Regardless, this is what I'm saying. Regardless of what the initial is, are you a constitutionalist or are you a collectivist? And in Ron Paul's case, he is a constitutionalist.
It's coming down to either you vote Constitution or Libertarian Party or you're a collectivist, socialist, communist. That's where the choices are coming.
It's kind of coming to that, except for there are some constitutionalists in the Democrat and Republican parties. There are some. You have to look for them. This is what I'm saying. When you go to the polls, let's say you have your ballot here, put a piece of paper on the initials. Don't look at them. Find out before you go to the polls, first of all, who each of these candidates are. Look at their history. If they're constitutionalists, that's who you vote for.
But you've got no history. You've never been elected to anything
local.
Amen.
Exactly, right? Because that's the way it was supposed to be. Washington, Jefferson set it up that, farmers, bakers, it was supposed to be candlestick makers. It was supposed to be business Americans who ran for a term or two and got out, period. It wasn't supposed to be about career politician.
So you would probably vote to increase. Would you go as high as 800?
You know what? I'm going to be honest. Nail you. You're not going to nail me only because I have to be educated. It was when I remember when Agenda 21 first came up and somebody asked me the question. I said, let me read it. I like to read. I like to research before I'll answer questions.
Do you know what the website is? The website is CaliforniaCommonwealth.com.
CaliforniaCommonwealth.com. Okay.
All the videos, his lawsuit he filed.
He was talking about a lawsuit.
He filed it over a year ago. I was the only media went up to the federal courthouse in Sacramento and watched him take off his jacket and throw it down and say, Your Honor! And I'm thinking, oh my God, he just took off his jacket like he's going to jump over the banister and attack the judge. The bailiffs are coming in. I don't know this guy. I'm just sitting here. You know, he was very vociferous till the judge finally said to him, Mr. Warnken, I can hear you just fine. No need to shout. And then he calmed down a little bit, but slowly he built, because he has passion.
And I want to say this, and I was listening to you earlier, and I really want to make this point.
Would you make it illegal to take our National Guard of California and send them to?
No, you need to be out. You know what? What did our founding fathers say? Do not entangle with foreign alliances. Right. They need to be brought back. Our National Guard needs to be put on our border to protect us here in the state of California. But I wanted to get back to something that you said a little bit earlier. Okay. Now we're talking about the judicial system. I have to disagree. I think the most important elections are governor, sheriff, and judges, and here's why. The governor has the power to take the state rights. You have to have a very strong governor. They will fight the federal government to have more power over them. Remember, it's not supposed to be federal government power over state. It's the other way around. And you need a governor who's going to protect your individual rights. I, for one, am for ending the Federal Reserve and creating a sound money solution. We're the 8th largest economy in the world. We need to do that, and we need to do it now. If you don't elect a strong governor, no, we're not going to get it. Hold on, because I know we're going to run out of time. Judicial system, very important. If we want to know why we have these corrupt attorneys and corrupt people working on the way up, it's because we, the people, are not finding the constitutional judges that will represent us. Instead, we're electing judges that we have no history of what they've done, and then they end up being corrupt. Very important. And the sheriffs. Remember, sheriffs are not under federal rule at all. If we had a strong county sheriff in the Central Valley, that water would have not been shut off because they would have went in there like Sheriff Mack would have done and arrested those federal agents. So it's really important that people understand that. Yes, federal elections are important.
Bill Brown, are you paying attention? Bill Brown is our new sheriff in this county.
Well, Bill Brown, you need to
take a lesson from Sheriff Mack.
Yes, you do, and you need to let me go in there and turn the water on. And if a federal agent comes to turn it off, I need to count on you, Bill. I need to count on you to do your job and arrest that federal agent. So,
which they have the power to do.
They have the power to do. It's Sheriff Mack. If you don't know him, call him on the phone, get to know him, and I'm sure he'll educate you. You know, I just was lucky to have met him.
For a sheriff, he's a really nice person.
Really, really nice. So, and Bill Hunt in Orange County, who's running, is really nice. And Jay LeSueur, who I've met, who's running in San Diego County.
William Wagener's a really nice person. Except he's been dead for over 100 years. That's my great-grandfather.
Oh, okay.
He was the elected sheriff. How'd you go there, didn't you? How'd you going? What do you think, Uncle Sam? Did I have her going?
Did you know Sheriff William Wagner?
Seems like there's a lot going here.
Yeah, he remembers Sheriff William Wagner. He was around 100 years ago. Didn't you go to my great-grandfather's?
200 years.
200 years. See, you went to my great-grandfather's funeral.
You know, you look really good for 200 years old, by the way. I must tell you, what's your secret?
Yeah, his wife, he chases his wife a lot.
1776.
1776. Oh, wow. So you would bring the troops of our National Guard back to California.
Back to California.
But didn't they pass some stupid law that combined them with the federal forces so they could have
that
their
needs to be nullified. And you know, here's how we're going to do it. This is where I agree with Orly Tates. Is the individual sitting in the White House right now constitutional? I don't believe he's constitutionally vetted. I'm sick and tired of people telling me that his birth certificate is legitimate. I haven't seen it. The one that I've seen, the short form, that's the same one that when I had to, unfortunately, I don't believe in marriage licenses. I don't believe government is supposed to be intruding on our personal rights. Nonetheless, when I went to go get a marriage license, I had to take a birth certificate. I originally took my short form thinking that would be acceptable. It was not. I had to go get a long form. Now, whenever I have to show certification, it has to be the long form authenticated birth certificate. I've not seen that one yet. Well, so I want to see it within 48 hours. If I don't see it within 48 hours, if I'm elected, I'm sorry, null and void. To me, he does not exist. His legislation does not exist. therefore he cannot have the National Guard. It comes back to us. But anyway, I think that
Then
that's
the health bill he
unconstitutional.
pushed through
That
was-
would be
is-
unconstitutional. Correct? It would be null and void.
Null and void, because Obama's null and
You
void.
know, and I've gotten into so many arguments with my libertarian friends and others who's, oh, well, you know, he is the.
Don't
you
waste
know,
time
I
arguing
mean,
with
come on, you've got
libertarians.
to be kidding me.
Don't waste time arguing with libertarians.
You know,
Trust
but
me,
it's
I
about
know
the
them well.
It's about the Constitution. If
Yeah,
he's
if
not
you stick to the-
constitutionally vetted, that means he does not have any allegiance to the United States of America.
Here's a question I asked Fred, who was here earlier.
Yes.
He didn't know, I think it's Article 4, Section 18 of the California Constitution, states to remove a judge, the Assembly starts the process to impeach. The Senate holds a trial, and they remove him. If you're governor of California, and I'm beginning to think I really hope you will, because I'm very disappointed in Steve. Meg, I wouldn't let her on my studio if she paid me. There's no
Good.
amount of money I would let Meg
Good,
Whitman.
because she's paying everybody else off. so.
But she can't pay me. I'm not
Good.
viable.
So see, some people still have principle.
I do. I still have principle, and